During the summer months in the more mountainous regions of West Texas, the animals will hide pretty much wherever they can, particularly in rock ledges and cliffsides. However, I had a theory, which is that most larger caves will not only be cooler for reptiles, but also a great daytime hangout spot for large predatory mammals that also call this place home.
Yo, check this out. Got a bone. Animal bone. What's this? This looks like a javelina.
For those of you who don't know what a javelina is, it's basically a desert pig. That's right, this is a pig leg. The only thing that's going to be dragging a pig leg up into a cave, that would be a mountain lion. Yeah, we are definitely in the right area. This is awesome. Hiking up these caves can be treacherous, and the snake hook does help with grabbing onto things and getting up into tight spaces. But I'm sure the animals here have no trouble getting up here.
I tell you what, this is a nice cave, but there's a lot of smaller ones along this ridge. So what I think I'm going to do, leave the bigger cave and go where I'm seeing more lizards. I think that's what mostly we're going to be catching during the day is going to be lizard eaters, long-nosed snakes, glossies, and potentially even a bull snake or a gopher snake. Little railroad thing there. Oh, that's dangerous. That's really cool. There's a snake back there. Hang on. Boy, there's a long-nosed snake. Check that out. Ah. Hang on, I'm coming back out. Yo, come here, little dude. Check that out. Woohoo! Long-nosed snake, baby. Well, have a look at that. Very common species out here in the west. This is a long-nosed snake. Really cool species. This is one that we actually got to see in Arizona a couple years ago. But this is the more typical phase. The orange, black, and that kind of yellowish white coloration. They eat lizards. As you can see, there were a couple. Yeah, look, right there. There's a little lizard right there. That's what they eat. Little earless lizards, crevice lizards. Pretty much anything they can get a hold of, they're going to be eating out here. They're less rodent specialists than a lot of the other snakes out here. They're more reptile specialists, mostly lizards, but occasionally they can eat other snakes like a ringneck or a smaller longnose. Now, like I mentioned before, there are other phases of this snake's coloration. Really, what you're going to be looking for, more or less, is white and black banding with that really pointed nose. And they're going to have some weird speckling on them. But this is a very variable snake species. They are nocturnal, but you can find them up in caves and things like this, and also under rocks earlier in the year. They don't really have a height limit. They can go up way up into the mountains, or they can be in these flat plains. It really doesn't matter. They'll live there. He's tongue flicking. Very hard snake to get to bite. Obviously, they are non-venomous. And one thing that's really good to point out about these snakes is they really do break that rule that we like to have in the eastern United States of red on black, venom black, red on yellow, kill a fellow. Because some of the versions of long-nosed snakes will have a reddish coloration and a yellowish coloration right next to each other. So out west, not a rule you want to be following. Because long-nosed snakes, they break that rule in some cases. Obviously, this one is black, kind of a yellowish tan. Whoops, sorry, bud. Kind of a yellowish tan and then an orange. So, he wouldn't technically break that rule, but really cool snake. They remind me of the scarlet snakes back in the eastern United States. That pointed nose and that lizard-eating habit. It's really cool. You're not going to see this snake much in the pet trade either. They're just not a snake that does well in captivity. They can eat mice and stuff like that, but they're a lizard eater through and through. Best to leave them out here in these rock cuts where they belong. Very common species, very beautiful species. And I'm going to go ahead and let him back up into this cave. I'll get it with the GoPro. I'm glad I had it on me because, I was just going up the cave getting some B-roll. But really awesome snake to be seeing out here. See a little snake? Back up in your little rock cliffs where you belong. Go, go. Boop, boop, boop. Woohoo!
A really good first snake. While common, long-nosed snakes are actually one of my favorites out here. Now, I've heard that this area is particularly a good location for the Trans-Pecos Copperhead, also called a broad-banded copperhead. I'm very used to seeing my local species of copperhead home in Louisiana, but now I am really hoping to run into one of these incredible vipers, probably somewhere along these caves and cliffsides.
Nice. There's a snake right there. Check that out. What is that? It's not a big glossy, is it? It's a rat. It's a rat snake. That's an emery rat. There's a few different rat snake species that live here, but this is an emery rat, also known as a Great Plains rat. He's very light colored for here. Have a look at how he's laid out on this rock wall. They spend their days in burrows and pretty much anywhere they can get shade. That's a big one. Non-venomous species. Perfect. Whoa, he's not happy with me. Have a look at that. That's a big old rat. Woohoo! Big light coloration. They look a lot more like a corn snake than your typical rat snake, at least if I'm comparing to the ones back in Louisiana. Rat snakes typically have that kind of square head. And he's got that more streamlined head with that little arrow on top, which is more reminiscent of a corn. But these are rat snakes, which obviously corns are rats too, but just a different look to these snakes. He matches me pretty well. I'm not wearing my blue today because it's pretty hot, and this long sleeve helps me a little bit. But he's got that nice light gray coloration like what I'm wearing, and this would keep him pretty cool. And you can also see he matches the environment pretty well. Now, Great Plains rats can range from a light gray coloration to a brown, and sometimes an orangish tan coloration. But this is a little bit more of a typical look for the snakes in these areas. This is the locality of Great Plains or emery rat snakes that are down here. Nice fat body, square belly scales. They can climb up these rock cliffs like it's nothing. Lots and lots of rock cliffs here, and like their name suggests, rat snake, they're going to be hunting rats and stuff, but when they're young, they're mostly going to be eating little mice and stuff like that. These are a really cool species here. You can find them sometimes during the day, but the most common time to find these guys is in the evening times when they start moving around quite a bit to hunt. You can find them at night sometimes. They do hunt a little bit at night. They are a bit of a nocturnal species, but they can be out during the day and or at night, depending on the time of year. Summertime, it is more common to see them at night. Awesome stuff. Well, we're going to go ahead and put this snake back on its little rock cliff here. There's a lot more caves along this cliffside to be exploring, so we're going to hopefully find some more snakes by just checking in these little caves. Alright, see you, big baby. That is an awesome snake. Back on your rock cliff. I'm not sure if he's going to leave the cave or not. I want y'all to have a look at this, though, as he crawls away. This is the cave, and I can feel a meal in that snake's stomach. This is a big old chasm right above our head, and it goes that way quite a bit. This is most likely somewhere where bats live. And I don't know if that was a bat or a bird in his belly, but this is something that would attract snakes, specifically rat snakes and glossies, you know, stuff like that that can get up into this. I'm trying to see if there's any bats up there, but snakes like that would eat bats in here. And that's why you're going to have some really cool snakes up and along these caves.
With the weather heating up a bit, I've noticed that these caves are staying quite cool, which is keeping the wildlife here on a totally different schedule, and allowing them to bask, hunt, and hide pretty much anytime they feel like it. I figured if I did see one, it'd be coiled up in a nice, cool, and open spot, and that is exactly what happened.
Yo! Oh my goodness, look at that. You going? You going? That is amazing. This is a broad-banded, also known as a Trans-Pecos Copperhead. Now, we get copperheads back home, but they look nothing like this. This is a super dark desert copperhead. He's got a little hole right there, and he's just crawled out right outside of it. Oh man, what a snake. Now this, very similar to the ones back home. They eat mice, rodents, all that good stuff. They're a venomous snake. They have a hemotoxic venom. It's very mild compared to the rattlesnakes out here, but it could still be a pretty bad bite. Copperheads have killed people. I'm not sure if the Trans-Pecos Copperhead has ever killed anybody, but copperheads in general have had a couple deaths to their name, but for the most part, they're not nearly as bad as the rattlesnakes here. Now you can see why it's called a broad-banded copperhead. Look at the bands. Look how much wider they are. And they're not going to have those hourglass patterns like the ones back home. They're just going to be solid bands that go around the snake. That is one of the most incredible pit vipers here. That is a copperhead hanging out at the mouth of this little cave. It goes back a little bit here. Now, copperheads are pretty mild-mannered for the most part. You can get some crazy ones, or you can get some calm ones. It really depends on the disposition of the snake. They hang out on these ledges, they heat up a little bit during the day, and then they go back into their holes, and at night is when these snakes are going to be out hunting. Now, they can be some bright colors here. They can have some really cool colors. You can have them be a bright red, or even a kind of a lightish orange tan. This one's more your typical brown. This one's more your typical brown coloration to a copperhead here, but it's still absolutely amazing to see. They are built for the desert. They're that darker coloration. I'm not sure how that coloration really helps them when it comes to heat or anything like that, but one thing's for sure, they do well in these desert environments. They're actually a fairly common species out here. Probably not going to be as common as some of the rattlesnake species, but there are definitely a good amount of Trans-Pecos or broad-banded copperheads out here. Now, Trans-Pecos and broad-bandeds used to be a different subspecies of copperhead. Used to be the broad-bandeds were the darker ones, and the Trans-Pecos were the lighter ones a little bit more west. But they changed that in recent years. They kind of just lump them all together. And kind of makes sense. All these little desert copperheads, there's a lot of variation with the species, so they're not really 100% whether they're all that different or not. But one thing's for sure, they're a really cool snake. But in the past, this would have been referred to as a broad-banded copperhead. Nowadays, it doesn't matter which you refer to, they're going to be the same. Also, desert copperhead works. Orange copperhead is another name for the desert copperheads out here. Just an absolutely beautiful snake. And one thing you'll notice is when these snakes are hanging out during the day, you almost can't even see their pupil. They've just got that full-colored eye, and then you just see a tiny little slit. That is awesome. What a beautiful snake. Well, she's starting to tongue flick a little bit more, so I'd say we're just going to go and leave her on her way. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to go and check out the one we did in Arizona with some desert rattlesnakes. That was a really good time, and we will see you guys next time. Awesome little snake. Bye, buddy.